Welcome back. You're watching Weekend Sunrise. The female breadwinner is on the rise, and with a shifting society, the question of where men fit in is more poignant than ever.
As the breadwinner in her family, CEO of PepsiCo, Indra Nooyi, spoke this week about the choices that she has to make each day between family and work.
You are going to be a wife or a mother. In fact, many times during the day, you have to make those decisions. And you have to co-opt a lot of people to help you. We co-opted our families to help us. We plan.
According to some men, that is a choice that men do not have.
But if you ask our daughters...
Now, joining us from Houston, Texas to discuss why he thinks women have it better than men and why it's time for a male movement is the founder of A Voice for Men, Paul Elam. Good morning to you, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, you've said that women have about 50 years on men when it comes to liberation, but many women would argue that men have always held most of the power. So what is behind your argument that you need a men's movement?
Well, I think the story that you're talking about now will give you a very good example. What we need is a re-examination of power. Right, just now you described a woman who is trapped between work and family, the pressures of a high-paying position, the demands that come with that, and then coming home to feeling the demands of a family that needs her in other ways. This is the same experience men have had throughout history. Now, is that power? That's arguable, and that's the type of discussion that we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, many men, you know, may, without even consciously knowing it, feel trapped by the gender roles that they are assigned. Your movement says that men, you actually come out and say that men really don't have the same number of choices as women. So how are men limited by society in ways that women are not, Paul?
Well, one way I've heard it phrased, which I think is very accurate, is that women now have several choices, three in particular. One, they can work full-time and pursue a career. They can be at home and be stay-at-home mothers and housewives and choose that path, or they can do a combination of both. The choices in our society for men are to work full-time, or the third choice is to work full-time.
Although we're seeing that changing in Australia already. We spoke to some men recently, and already in Australia about 25% of households have women as the primary breadwinner, and about, I think, 9% of households have men as the stay-at-home carer. So it's starting to change.
Yes, it is. I think it's starting to change. It's also starting to change here in the United States. However, the social attitudes toward men that stay at home, men that don't work, are still what's lagging behind. We have words for women who stay at home and take care of the home and the children. We call that a housewife. Often the word we might use for men who stay at home and don't work while their wives work is gigolo.
Okay, look, there's a lot of merit in what you're saying there, that, we want men to feel as if they've got the same choices that women do, but some of the beliefs that are on your website, which is called A Voice for Men, do make me shake my head a bit, and I'm not quite sure what you mean. You are calling for a push to an end to rape hysteria. What do you mean by that?
Well, precisely what we mean is what we said. We're pushing for an end to hysteria around the subject of rape. We believe rape is a serious problem that needs to be addressed in this culture. But right now, particularly in the United States, we have a lot of academicians and people in government that are pushing statistics about the incidence of rape that are simply not true. We have campaigns identifying all young men as potential rapists. These are hysterical actions, and they are not addressing the problem of rape. Rape is committed by a small number of criminals, often people much like pedophiles that reoffend and have many, many victims. But to class an entire half of the human species as all potential rapists simply because they are male we find to be hysterical, and we want that to change.
Who does that?
It's a very limited number of people who are doing that, and to, you know, to say that that is the predominant narrative around rape, I think is itself a kind of hysterical reaction. And certainly your reaction, where you said that if you were on a rape jury, you would acquit the man on principle, regardless of how strong the evidence was against him, is certainly playing into hysteria as well, Paul.
I don't think it is. I think when you look at rape shield laws, when you look at the type of prosecutorial misconduct, the number one crime for which the Innocent Project has people released from prison is rape. When you look at the lack of due process, when you look at things here like the Dear Colleague letter that has instructed our universities to suspend due process for young men accused of sexual assault on college campuses, even after they've been exonerated by police. You find that this is not a small amount of people that are involved in this. This is our government, this is our university boards and administrations, and it's happening across the culture in the United States and Canada. So I just have to disagree with you that this is a minority. I think that reading into this and studying up on current law, finding out about the Dear Colleague letter, finding out about what's happening with rape shield laws and how people like Marv Albert were convicted, who actually all evidence points to his being innocent.
Yeah, but only 3% of all rape cases actually end up in a conviction anyway. So, I mean, yes, the problems you are addressing are real and there are injustices, but when only 3% of rape cases end up in a conviction anyway, you could hardly say that the system is flooded with vexatious complaints.
It's not a matter of saying that the system is flooded with vexatious complaints, but please tell the men that have spent 10, 15, 20 years in prison falsely. Tell the young men whose academic careers have been ended by false allegations that this is a small problem. We're not saying that the numbers are huge, but we are saying that a rape allegation alone is enough to destroy a man's life. And it has happened many, many times over. So for the individuals affected by this, we try to pay attention to this problem.
Yeah, for sure.
We are not being hysterical in the way we are being evidence-based in how we approach this, not political.
Yeah, to acquit on principle is quite another thing, though. Paul, very sadly, we are out of time. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
I was so pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers.
Still to come on Weekend Sunrise, Clint Eastwood's big move into musicals. So does Jersey Boys work on the big screen.
But next, say what? From Shark Week to eating dog food, the weird and wonderful moments of the news this week.